All right, let's talk a little bit about Unit 4. First of all, like I've said with all the other units so far, the most important thing you can do is look over the Unit 4 released multiple choice questions. Remember, your teacher can't let you take this from the classroom, but he or she can give it to you during class, and you can go through all of the questions related to this unit that have been on the released exam since 2013. You cannot do anything more valuable than look over those questions and make sure you understand why the right answers are the right answers. It's also really important for you to look over some sample free response questions. So in item number 2 here, I have chosen several free response questions related to important ideas from question 4, from Unit 4 rather. Make sure that you take a few minutes to try to answer these questions. The link also contains the scoring guideline. So after you've written your own response, go through and essentially grade your own paper and figure out what you got right and what you should have included that you didn't. By far, items 1 and 2 are the most important things you can do to get ready for the Unit 4 part of the exam. Next, I want you to look through the slides that I have included the rest of the way through the PowerPoint. Every so often, there's some link to videos. If you get to a topic that you don't remember much about, look through the slides, watch the videos. There's a couple of examples of math-related problems, especially related to calculating Gibbs free energy. Make sure you can not only do those calculations, but that you can explain what the calculations mean. Finally, if you have some additional time, I've linked up the entire set of Unit 4 student notes right there. So here's the most important things to know from Unit 4. First of all, make sure you can describe how that matter, this should say, cycles through a food chain while energy flows through it and eventually out of the food chain as heat. So the atoms that make up the matter are used over and over and over and over and over. They're continually recycled. But the energy comes in as sunlight, goes through plants, goes through different levels of consumers, and ultimately leaves the food chain as heat and eventually radiates out into space. Make sure you can describe what a metabolic pathway is, and make sure you can give some examples, like say, for example, the Calvin cycle, the Krebs cycle, cell respiration, photosynthesis. Those are examples of metabolic pathways. Make sure you can explain the significance of the high level of conservation of metabolic pathways found across all living things. For example, most of the enzymes and reactions that happen in aerobic cellular respiration happen almost the same way throughout all of life. That shows that we're related, that we share common ancestors. Make sure you can calculate and interpret the calculations of Gibbs free energy. Be able to describe the structure and function of ATP. Be able to describe some environmental factors, things like temperature, pH, salinity, concentration of enzyme, concentration of substrate, the presence of inhibitors, the presence of activators that affect the rate of enzyme catalyzed reactions. Make sure that you can describe the overall purpose of cellular respiration and that you can describe the locations, the reactants, the products, and the purposes of the 3 main phases of aerobic respiration: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. Also, make sure you can explain and give some really good examples of coupling or reaction coupling. Be able to describe the overall purpose of photosynthesis and be able to describe the locations, the reactants, the products, and the purposes of the 2 major parts of photosynthesis: the light-dependent reactions and the Calvin cycle. Next, be able to describe and explain the significance of the absorption spectra of chlorophyll and of some of the major accessory pigments like xanthophyll and carotene. And then finally, make sure you can explain the significance of chemiosmosis, the process of using a hydrogen ion gradient to produce ATP. It's really important in both photosynthesis and in aerobic cellular respiration. All right, so that's it for my intro to Unit 4. Make sure you take the time and look through the slides and watch the videos and prepare for your AP exam.